to write better copies on the website, so I can convert more people to do the discovery call, and I'm better at closing them from the call, from more sales perspective. So that's my main focus right now, marketing and sales. And
I can piggyback that too with my job. That's
yeah, yeah, and personal level, better at doing the vibration, visualizing, and verbalizing manifestation process. Hi, Ashad.
Hey, Ashad. You have to unmute yourself. And then we're just sharing what the outcome is that you want to get from this class today or ongoing.
Oh, I'm just trying to learn as much as I can. I mean, to keep it simple.
Okay.
Simple is best. Simple is power.
Right. For what purpose would you like to learn as much as you can?
Just to better myself. I mean, you know, that's to better myself in professional and personal life, to see some of the elements that maybe can help me.
Okay, cool. So anything else you want to add to that, or?
I think that's pretty much it.
Okay, so presuppositions of NLP. So first off, I'm going to start off with a quick explanation of what is NLP, or what the purpose of NLP is. So there's lots of definitions. I'll give you my quick textbook definition. Is NLP is neuro, is our 5 senses, the way that we take in information. Linguistics is language, the way that we process or make sense of that information. And programming is the patterns or the habits or behaviors that come from that. So, but the real essence of what NLP is it's a tool that you can use to kind of shape your mindset. It's kind of, we kid around that, but not really kidding around, that it's the user's manual for the mind. So it's more of an attitude and approach that you come from. So it's like holding a space for the people in your life to grow into. It's holding a space for yourself to grow into. It's the attitude that we can improve ourselves, that we can be better, and at the same time we're doing the best we can with what we have, and we can still strive to be a little bit better. So I heard a great quote this week, that you should believe in somebody until they have no good reason to not believe in themselves. So really that kind of frames for me that you're holding the space for people in your life. If you feel that people in your life can do better, or clients can do better, or you can serve the world better, that you hold that space, that at least, first off, it's possible. And then you start to build the beliefs that it's probable. And then once you start to live into that, it's that attitude that you have, that it's not necessarily always a positive attitude, but it's the attitude of possibilities, that you can create what you want in this world, and you can help others to create what they want in this world. So, you know, along the lines of what Cal was talking about with metaphors, I remember way back when I was really starting to ski better mountains. Does anyone here like to ski? So, you know, you go down trails that you think are above your level, but then you get to a certain point where you've developed the basic skills. It not necessarily means that you can ski every hill as an expert, but you can get to the point where you can ski it well enough that you can put in the practice, and you know what to do, you know the fundamentals. So to do any skill, you start off by building the basic fundamentals. So the first fundamental, which we just went through, is knowing what your outcome is, right? If you don't know where you're going, you'll probably wind up somewhere else. So the thing is to have a very clear plan as to where you want to go, but then to also have a little flexibility in your behavior, because the rest of the world is not necessarily following your plan. So it's what happens in this world, but then what's more important is how we act or react to what happens. So like I made a statement opening up, said sometimes you win, sometimes you learn. And Ariel had a great response to that. She says, well, can we do both? So I like that. And one of my first coaches, looked at a lot of people come to him and they say, well, I have to do this or this. So instead of either or, he shaped it that you can do both and. So that's again, it's something that helps you to have an initial belief that works to help you to be more resourceful in those situations. So I guess we're going to recap some of these presuppositions that everyone is doing the best they can with the resources that they have. So the presuppositions of NLP are basic assumptions. Like if you think of it as that, like something that you assume to be true or possible or that will work. And when you presuppose that something will work, it has a better chance of working than if you presuppose it won't work. So the first one that we're actually going to work with today, and I'm not in control of the screen, so I'm not sure if that's you, Cal, or Ariel.
Yeah, that's me.
Screen, but
that's
okay,
me.
the first one that we're going to do is feedback, failure to feedback.
Okay. So this is where it is, right there. Should be.
So people have beliefs, right? And a lot of NLP is about shifting your beliefs. So like I was talking about the belief of possibility, right? If you start off by believing something's possible, then you can start to do it. You can take action on it. And once you take action, a lot of times it's the action that will shift your attitude. Like a lot of people think you have to change your attitude and then you'll take action. But a lot of times really just taking some sort of action. And I love Cal's approach to a lot of things in life is that he'll, fire, ready, aim, versus most people, they're like, get ready, and then they aim, and then they fire. No, Cal is just like fire, ready, aim, like let's jump in, let's do something, and then we'll shape it, and we'll make it the best that it could be. And I tell you, it just, when you develop the attitude that you'll make it happen no matter what, it's kind of like one day I'm skiing down this mountain and this guy comes flying past me, and I'm on a fairly difficult trail. It's first run of the day. I'm trying to set up my day so that I can just step it up a level, and I start off like full on, but I've never skied down this slope before, and it's got a lot of twists and turns and bumps and corners that I don't know what's around the other corner. And this guy just comes flying past me, and I'm thinking like, how could someone do that? But the thing is, you have to be able to trust in the skills that you have and start to use them to at least take some sort of action. So, one of the things that a lot of people will say in the world of, improving ourselves, oh, well, I have all these past failures, right? Or I had these things that didn't work out, or I had a plan and it didn't come out the way I wanted it to. So the thing is, the statement that I made, sometimes you win, sometimes you learn, is not necessarily the end result. It's kind of the process along the way. So if you have a goal to accomplish something and you're not accomplishing that, you're learning something. And you can take that as feedback to then apply to adjust and do it a little bit better the next time. So does anyone have a situation, so I can work with something real that you feel like, oh, I attempted this and I failed? Anyone want to share something in their life real that you attempted to do something and you feel like you failed at it?
I recently obtained a life and health insurance license and went through the and really got involved in life insurance, and it was a grind. It was just a dog eat dog world, and I did okay, and then I just kind of fell on my face, And I thought, well, what am I doing wrong here? Like I'm doing everything right. I'm following the instructions. I'm doing what I'm told. I'm getting out there, and it ended up just putting me back instead of forward in life. And I ended up doing something different now. But I look back on it sometimes and I wonder, what happened? You know, like, did I not do enough? Did I not this, that? I don't know. But I've just moved on from it. But it was all learning.
Right. So what was your takeaway from that endeavor? Like what's
It wasn't a
something
good
that
fit.
maybe applies to all of your life, or at least several other areas?
I felt like I was forcing the hand. It wasn't in flow.
Makes sense.
Right.
You know,
So what was, coming back to the outcome, what was your purpose for doing the insurance?
better financial stability in the future, I guess, was the hopes. Um, it was the purpose. I was challenging myself to get out of the job I was in. It was kind of just a dead end job that I was just doing forever, and I hit a plateau, and there was no growth, and I wanted to challenge myself to do something different. And then I got into that world, and I was like, I don't like this world, and um, it was. I had all these high expectations, maybe too high, and I went up, and then just. But the purpose to challenge myself for something different down the line.
Right. So it sounds like you accomplished that goal. You certainly challenged yourself in going into an area that made you uncomfortable, and that you didn't really like it, but you had a financial goal that you were trying to accomplish. So in the bigger picture, you you made you followed the process of going for that one particular area of income, and then you discovered that might not be the right fit for you.
Correct.
So, but you didn't say that's it, I'm never going to make money. You kept moving and growing, and you worked through it. You took it as a lesson, as one thing that, like, and it might not even be a permanent thing. It might not be like, okay, I'm never going to do insurance sales, but for now, maybe there's other areas that you can feel a little bit more of a flow, that it is a fit for you. That makes sense?
Absolutely. I'm just finding the right vehicle, and it was all life lessons leading up to something I have kind of on the back burner now. Absolutely.
Right. So, sometimes things happen, and it seems like bad. It seems like it threw us off track. It seems like a failure. Like I used to have a cabinet shop, and I took on a partner, and I wound up splitting with my partner, and then I didn't know what to do. And I had this other cabinet shop that had asked me to come in with them a while before. So I started working with them, but I was still, like, my head wasn't focused on what I was doing. And I really just wanted to get out of that industry. So one day I'm cutting some pieces of wood, some small pieces of wood on the saw, and I cut my finger, right? And it was a terrible thing, but when I look back on that event, that was a huge shift into a positive direction in my life, because what it made me realize was everything I did to make money involved using my hands. And there's only so much money that I could make using my hands. So a friend of a friend introduced me to a marketing and training business, and he brought me in as kind of an apprentice to learn his system. And that helped me to grow into a whole area that led to me learning NLP and hypnosis and coaching and working with people to help them improve their lives and figure out, what is it that you want? When you're clear on what you want, when you have your outcome, and sometimes, sometimes people can get caught up in, okay, I'm starting this new profession, and this new profession is my outcome. But as Joshua just stated, no, his outcome was to create a better financial situation for himself and his family. So the insurance industry was one path that he you know, made an attempt to make that happen, and he stretched himself into an area that maybe was outside, maybe it's outside of anything that you've done before. Am I correct in assuming that, or?
That's very correct.
Okay. So what were you doing before the insurance? So we can just get a
I was
feel of how
working in
much of a
hospitality. I was a number of years as in management and consulting, nightlife, opening bars, closing bars, hiring, firing.
right. So what's the relationship between those two careers?
Service? I don't know. What's the relationship? I mean, people, servicing people.
Okay. Cool. Right. So when you look back at that period of time where you were doing insurance and you were learning and you were taking, I'm sure they put you through some different training programs to learn sales, even though, you know, even if people are proficient in sales, they show you how to sell their specific
Mhm.
method. So when you look back on that, how did that help you to grow into new areas, like with service and relationships with other people?
I found the more active listening I was doing in general would generate more sales. It's not like I went there and failed. I did okay. It wasn't a good fit, but I think the overall theme was really just tuning into the people in front of me instead of just, and myself, knowledge, of course, myself, but just being more of a better listener instead of a ram it down your throat kind of guy.
Right. So that's a great awareness of yourself, right? To realize that, you know, not all sales are created equal. I was I was very good at selling cabinets, and you know, one of the things that I tried, and the word "try" is a very interesting word that I might unpack at a later time, but one of the things that I tried in life was to sell cars, because I was like yourself, I was looking to make more money at the time, and I heard, you know, you can make a six-figure income selling cars. And I went and I got a job at a car dealership, and the manager was very intrigued because he knew that I knew hypnosis, he knew that I knew NLP, he knew that I already did coaching and that I was training people, and he figured, okay, this is a great fit. So I found out rather quickly for myself, but every other salesperson there knew that I just wasn't the right person to be selling cars. So finally, one day, someone comes up to me, and I'm still not sure how to fully unpack this, but my good friend there comes up to me and he puts his hands on my shoulders and he's like, "Mark, you're too honest for this business." He goes, "You have to kind of just persuade people and to get them into the car and get them out. You know, it's like," and I'm like, "No, like my method of selling is to find out what people want and then see what we have to offer and then pair the two together. And it really, there's no pressure in selling them. You know, it's like in the furniture business, you know, you go in, it's like, there's no such thing as a one call close. It's like multiple calls and building a relationship and back and forth with the design and making sure that the person's going to get exactly what they want before you even start talking price, you know. And then to contrast that, I worked for a kitchen place that did refacing, and if you didn't close in one call, that was it. Go on to the next one. So, you know, I made two really big sales in that job, and then I quit, and they couldn't understand why I quit because it just wasn't the right fit for me. I didn't feel comfortable doing it. So that's the thing is, you know, you learn about different things. You know, one of the classic examples of failure into feedback and to realize the learning from it was the inventor Thomas Edison. Now, the stories go back and forth as to how many exact times. The original one that I heard was about 1,000 times that he attempted to make a light bulb that would work, right? So people would come up to him, you know, after like 500 tries and say that's it, give up, you failed, right? And he was like, no, we gotta keep doing this because it's important enough to make it happen. So, you know, people face challenges at life at different levels. So there's the level of the environment, and say, okay, well, I'm not succeeding because of the economy, or I'm not succeeding because of the people that are around me, you know. And then you take it up to the level of behavior, and you say, well, I'm not succeeding because I'm not doing this, or I'm doing that, or, you know, I'm not doing it correctly, you know. So it's, they look at it in terms of the behavior, and the behavior is important, especially the level of consistency with the behavior. But the level of behavior is not driven by behavior, it's driven by a level above. So when you look at behavior, is driven by what you believe is you're capable of, or what's possible for you. So like I was talking about before, holding that space to look at what is possible for you, and more likely even what's probable for you, and then you start to shape into that direction. So, you know, and this goes in line with what you were talking about, to be able to expand your consciousness, to have tools that you can use every day. So you can look at every situation that you do something as an opportunity to learn from it, to grow. And you have an overall outcome that's a basic general direction that you're heading in, that you want to create a financial level of succeeding. And these are all the steps along the way to make that happen. So, you know, can I say that I failed in selling cars? Yeah, I could very easily say that. But can I say that I learned one method to create income for myself that doesn't really work for me? But I did learn a lot about how to deal with people. I did learn a lot how to get to the point real quick. I did learn a lot about how to, you know, engage people on a different level, to motivate them, that because they came in, they wanted to buy a car, right? So one of my mentors, Dr. Richard Bandler, who's the creator, one of the creators of the field of NLP, he worked for a while in a furniture store, and he would notice, you know, he was training the salespeople, but he was just kind of like a fly on the wall for a little while, observing what they did. So these people would walk in, walk around the whole store, and then walk out, right? And one day, Richard slams his hand down on the desk, and he's like, wait. And they turn around, and they're like, what? What do you mean wait, right? So they turn around, they look at him, and they're like, I just, you know, they came in the store, no one was really paying attention to them, and all of a sudden this guy just screams out, wait. And they turn around, and they're like, what? And he goes, you forgot something. And they're like, I did? You know, it just kind of like broke their state. And they're like, what did I forget? And he says, you forgot to buy some furniture. and the guy's like, I did? And he's like, yeah. He says, what'd you come here for? And he says, I came here to get some furniture. And he goes, and you're leaving without furniture, so you forgot, right? And then all the salesmen come over to see what is he doing, right? So he yells out to all the people in the store, come over here, right? And he's got a crowd around him of all the salespeople and all the clients that are in the store. And the bottom line was, he sold 20 couches in one shot.
Wow.
When all these salesmen were just going to let these people walk in and walk out of the store, right? So it's realizing, you know, that you're very resourceful, and that you can create this flexibility. And so where does this story come from? I'm going to go back to Cal's outcome now, right? So life happens, right? We don't want it to stop, and we can't make it stop happening around us, right? So there's all kinds of things. And when you can see the story unfolding and the events that happen around you, some of the stories are just mundane, but some of the significant life events, we can take them and utilize them to help ourselves and to help others. So, you know, and most of the best stories you can't make up. You just can't make them up. They're too bizarre to actually make up. So the key is, how do you store it so that you can use it, right? So when the original computers were made, they tried to model the way the mind worked. They said, okay, the mind and the brain are one and the same. So let's model the way that the brain stores information, and then we can make the computer work the way the mind works. So what they did is, you know, there's the information that's on the screen. That's kind of the RAM, the random access memory, or our conscious mind. Then there's the hard drive, right, which is our subconscious or unconscious mind, where all these long-term memories are stored, right? So consciously, we can only pay attention to 5 to 9 bits of information in a given moment. There's only so much you can put on your screen until it starts overlapping. And I mean, even if you have a really big screen, there's only so much you can put on that screen at a time. And there's only so much that your computer can process at any given time based on the amount of RAM memory, conscious memory. So the other than conscious mind, or the hard drive, can store, I mean, you can get like, I don't know, 100 terabyte hard drives or more nowadays, which is just like tons and tons and tons of information that could be stored there, because that information can just be like, you can take a flash drive with a couple of gigabytes of information, plug it into your computer, transfer those files, and they're on there. You don't know what's there, right? But it's there. So when life gives us these random but yet wonderful experiences, in the moment we can capture those. And we can say, oh, wow, this might be something that'll be helpful in the future. So, you know, I had a funny situation happen. So I can kind of categorize that as a funny situation. Maybe it was a business context, maybe it was a personal context. So then I start to look at where can this apply to help others, right? And then you can take that information, and when you get new information that you want to store that's important to you, you don't just let it go onto the root directory of your hard drive, because then you'd have hundreds of thousands of files, and you'd have to search through all of them to find any one piece of information. So the way to do it is kind of in your mind, is to shape that information and say, okay, what general category does this go into? So it goes into humor. Does it go into personal or business? Well, it's more business. It wouldn't really work for personal. So then you shape it down into that, and you can put it into subfolders and kind of store it in your mind. So now on your screen, you have these general folders. You click on that folder, it opens up into some more specific folders. And then you can click on that, and it opens up into a whole bunch of stories that you can use in that category.
Mark, are you talking about the conscious versus unconscious?
Well, it's a combination of your conscious and your unconscious working together. So what Cal was talking about is being able to pull up a story, a metaphor, and to be able to use it based upon the situation that he's in. Mm-hmm. But then also to have it stored in a way that it's always available, and then the whole thing is there, almost like a constructed story with all of the elements in it. So it's got the visual elements, it's got the feeling, the kinesthetic elements, it's got the sounds and all of that, and it just kind of pulls up the file. Now it's on your screen, right? So it makes it a lot easier to remember. You can see this 2 or 3 or 4 stories that you opened up, and then this will prompt you to close those stories at the end, right? But you have them available to you. Life gives us so many different opportunities, and if that's not enough, then you can read things that give you great stories. Like for hypnosis, I have a whole stack of children's books, and they're more like parables. So they're very, very short stories, and each one of them has like a great life lesson. So I was in the bookstore buying these books, and they're like, oh, how old are your kids? And I'm like, well, my kids are like 13, 16, and 19. They said, well, these are a little bit, you know, too remedial for those kids. And I said, well, these books aren't for my kids. They're for my students and my clients. And they're like, what? And I said, well, I do hypnosis, and I do NLP, and I do coaching, and I'm always looking to add stories. So I got these great children's stories about, you know, seeking out learning and, you know, going on this adventure and, you know, like traveling through the woods and looking under the leaves and saying, there's no learning there. And then, you know, going to the water and reaching in and pulling out a handful of water and saying, well, there's no learning there. And then looking up to the sky at the beautiful clouds and saying, well, there's no learning there. And then taking a deep breath of fresh air and saying, well, there's no learning there, you know, and then you realize, well, searching everywhere for this learning and it's nowhere to be found. And then the realization that that journey, that quest for learning is sometimes the greatest thing you can learn. Cal. You're on mute, Cal.
This is really great, Mark. As you're going through your, you know, your stories before about, you know, in the shop when you cut your finger and you realize, you know, the message behind it that you can only do so much with your finger, with your working with your hands, and that led you to, you know, learn NLP and hypnosis, and that shifted your career. It automatically took me to a time when, you know, I was in the car business when after graduated, you know, engineering, I started a car business. And then in 2008, the, you know, recession. And then I, you know, for 2 years, I was just, you know, I lost the business. And then, you know, I was like, I hit rock bottom, right? And everything just coming all together, you know, I was in debt and all that stuff. And I was wondering like why this is happening to me, right? Why this is happening to me.
Right.
I'm losing my house.
So I'm going to stop you there for just 1 second. So I'm going to bring this up only because Joshua did it earlier. You're asking yourself the question, why is this happening? Right? A lot of times that can bring us into more of a negative state. So, and I'm sure that didn't happen for you. So I want you to really illustrate how, like, shaping your questions kind of got you to utilize that in a positive direction.
So instead of asking why that was happening, asking like, what's the purpose?
Right. Well,
what did I learn from
why
it?
is this happening when you're getting caught up? Why is all this bad stuff happening? Then there's two different directions that answer can go into. So that's not necessarily a bad question, but a lot of times people say, well, what am I doing wrong? Right? It could lead to that. So it's like, but the purpose of this class is to really shape that thinking, and that's what I want Cal to illustrate, is how he shaped it maybe into a question of what was I doing right and what can I apply more of to overcome the environment.
Well, the thing is, I wasn't in that state at the time, and that's exactly what I was saying to myself, like why this is happening to me, okay? And because I didn't have any personal development, I didn't have any conscious awareness of, you know, what we're teaching here today and what we're helping others learn. So I was in that state. I was pacing, and with that, it's just, you know, not knowing what is going on, and the thing that, you know, just, you know, on that place what I was in. But then that's led to, you know, starting, you know, personal development and, you know, learning about NLP, and then start implementing it myself and start teaching others and coaching others. And that, you know, started my career back in 2008 till now. So I mean, if that recession or that event didn't happen, or didn't lose the business, then I wouldn't be doing what I love to do today, which is, you know, teaching, learning, and contributing. So and now as you think about it, for those of you on the call, you may wonder what events that happened that shaped your destiny and shaped who you are today, and what was the purpose of that, right? And what learnings did you take away from it? So in my experience in the car business, I learned about business is like being able to, you know, have a good structure for business. It's not a lifestyle and hobby. It was a lifestyle for me, just having fun, buying cars, making money. But I wasn't thinking business wise as far as having good structure in place. So that was the biggest learning for me. And now in this business that I'm doing, I'm implementing what I learned. So, you know, in your case, Josh, when you went into the insurance and the health insurance and you had certain expectations, and then, you know, you found yourself just going, you know, down on, you know, falling down based on what you said. You may be wondering right now, what learnings did you take away from it? And what is the feedback for your approach? And you weren't in a state of flow. And something very interesting that happens when we're in state of flow, you know when you're on the right track, when you're on a state of flow, when just things just coming together. Something very interesting, just quick, and then I'm gonna, give it back to you, Mark. Just last week, I've always been like, my purpose is just, to do these seminars and trainings in the Middle East, right? Just to be able to make a difference there where difference is needed. And I just put it out there, and I read it every morning in my affirmations, just, leading seminars worldwide, causing peace in the Middle East, right? And then it's all engraved in my mind. And, with the nonprofit that I'm running, just go to Lebanon and contributing to just a little bit or whatever we can to the Syrian refugees. And just last week, we got an opportunity to go to Iraq. And here is Baghdad is having like a revolution right now. There was a revolution for like 2 weeks. 100 people died in this revolution. People are just like revolting against the government, and because of the money, they're not making the money. They're not making money. The economy is down, and they don't have jobs, and all that stuff. And 100 people died. And one of the organizers, he lives in Baghdad, and we were scheduled to go there on October 18th. So now the conversation, like, are we still going to do it? Is it still going to happen? So, so we just, trusted the process. Like, we already decided that we're going to do it. And just like 2 days ago, like, the revolution stopped, and now the curfew is no longer there. So now people can just start, moving around and whatnot. And now I'm going to be, going again. I'm going to be going next week on Monday. For a week, and then and just doing the conference, and be speaking at a conference and around personal development, right? So how do you know that you're on the right track? Ariel mentioned it yesterday. It's just when things just coming together, when just things are kind of like fitting in place. It's like these pieces of the puzzle just start coming together. For me, and in NLP, we learn that state of flow, and you'll be able to regenerate it. How many of you on this call would like to learn how to be able to generate a state of flow in your life? By show of hands. Yeah. Okay, good. So this is one of the things that you're able to replicate in NLP as we move forward through these Wednesday calls. Right now, we're just building the foundations. It's just like you can't build a house or an empire based on anything that is not strong. So right now, we're just building the belief systems that everything will just come on top of it. And Mark is doing an astounding job just talking about there's no failure, there's only feedback. And the faster you fail, the faster you succeed, because the faster you fail, the more you learn, and the more you learn, the faster you grow now, won't you? So Mark, back to you.
So cool. So along the lines of failure to feedback, first of all, who here thinks Cal did a great job of demonstrating the use of stories to get his point across and to teach you lots of wonderful things right there? Cal, you have to bring it a little bit more to your conscious awareness of how amazing you are at that. Okay. So, but when you start to file them in the right way, and you can pull them up, and you can have that conscious excellence, right? That conscious awareness. So it's not stepping it back to conscious competence, but it's stepping it up to conscious excellence. And I know you realize what that means. So, in a lot of fields of endeavor, they say, well, only 1% make it to the top. But here's the reality. Only 1% stick with it till they do. Right? So it's the level of competence and confidence working together in combination. Right? So, I was talking before, are you capable of accomplishing what you're looking to do, right? So the next level up from capabilities is values. Why is it important to you? And then if you go up, the next level for that is who are you, right? So Joshua, when you were looking at the insurance, you weren't saying, oh, I'm an insurance salesperson, right? It was just something you did, but it wasn't who you are necessarily. That's why it didn't feel like a fit. That's why there wasn't flow. When you're doing something that's who you are, it just comes out of, my hair is standing up right now. It's like, it just like oozes out of all your pores. I mean, I went to a concert with some friends, and they were trying to decide between these two bands, right? one band was Chicago, right, which is like a really good, very tight band and the whole thing, and they're still really good, right? But I was thinking, okay, if we go to see them, they're going to be really good. They're going to play the songs. Best case scenario, they're going to play the songs exactly the way they sound on the album. But the other option was to go see this old blues guy, 83 years old, blues guitar player named Buddy Guy, right? And Buddy Guy is an entertainer. He's a performer, right? So I said, let's go see Buddy Guy because he's 83, and I want to see him while he's still alive. I've never seen him. And he's going to engage the audience. He's going to put on a show. He's going to kind of pull people in and get them like in his world of music and then share that, so it's an opportunity. Whereas Chicago, like I knew the music and I knew what was going to be, and I could have predicted how the concert went if it was perfect, right? But with Buddy Guy, I didn't know what was going to happen, but I knew one thing, that the bigger picture is he was going to entertain us. He was going to perform. He was going to do something. And I'm sitting there watching him, and I'm realizing that like this guy this is what he was meant to do. Like I can't picture Buddy Guy, and it doesn't matter if you know who he is or not. You can look him up, look at his videos on YouTube, and you'll see that this is what he's meant to do. He does it and he's sharing it. And he's trying to keep the world of blues alive because a lot of people, in his genre have died out, so he's doing his best to pass it along to the world that this great music should live on. And whether you like it or not, it's just, at least it deserves to stay in existence like a classical form of music. So here he is shining. He's being the best of who he is. I can't picture Buddy Guy doing anything other than playing blues guitar and performing in the way that he does. And he engages the whole audience. And all my friends who went with me, who didn't even know who he was, said, wow, that was like the best concert they ever went to, because they felt like the person like was performing for each one of the members in the audience individually and pulling them in and laughing and joking and having fun. And he was very comfortable in what he was doing, and he made everyone else comfortable and happy to be there because he was happy to be there. So the level above identity is your purpose or your vision or the direction you're going in. And it comes back to the original question of the outcome for this class. So the outcome for this class is that you're going to expand your consciousness, that you're going to have tools that you can use on a daily basis, that you're going to grow as a person, that you're going to be able to do better marketing, better sales, be able to to do these discovery calls, right? And I love that phrase, Ariel, discovery, right? Because you're discovering what the client wants, you're discovering what tools you have, you're discovering how to put the two together. So if the client says no, then they're not saying no to you, they're saying no to that particular thing. And you discovered one way that won't work for them, right? So you try something else and something else and something else, right? So only 1% make it to the top, but it's the 1% who stick with it till they do. So it means you just can't behave like the 99% of people that are giving up, that aren't doing it. Failing isn't permanent, right? This is the biggest lesson. Failing isn't permanent unless only you can make it permanent. But there's always one more step. There's only one more thing you can do to make it happen. One second, Cal. So it's you can get back up, and it'll make you stronger and wiser and more determined than ever before, right? Because you have an outcome and you want to accomplish this outcome to better yourself, to get yourself at that higher level of vibration, to be in the flow of where your life is truly meant to be going. And that you're creating the circumstances, but it's based upon the bigger picture of having the outcome. And one of the things that we do with NLP is to create a well-formed outcome so that becomes a guide. But the thing is, it's a map, it's a roadmap, it's a blueprint, but it's not the actual accomplishment. It's the structure that you realize that you're having the feedback. Am I on track or am I not on track? Right? A plane is off track 99% of the time. So it's constantly adjusting its path based upon the way the wind is or the shift in the temperature, and it's constantly readjusting to stay on track. So overall, it gets to its destination. But at any given moment, it could be slightly off track. So the pilot doesn't go, we're failing, we're not going to make it to our destination. No, they adjust and overcome. So Cal?
Yeah, so Mark, this is great, and I want to be playing the role of the devil advocate here, or like the media interviewer. This is all great, and wanted to kind of like more, in NLP, it's all about tools, right? Tools in a toolbox, like how to be able to use these tools and strategies, right? So if we want to give the people right now a sense, and a taste, a sight, or a feel of a tool that they can take away, something practical that they can put in place like right now in their life, that's gonna make a difference for them in the area of how to get where you want. Okay. And there's no such thing as failure. There's only feedback, and all of that, stories and all these metaphors we use and all these life experiences and how we niched it down. It built the big picture. And now, I wonder if you'd be able to, maybe give people a sense of what would be a tool that they can put in place right now. They can experience like some magic that will help them, get what they want. Like Josh, in a couple of weeks, in the past 2 weeks, when he had he had a sales call that he wanted to do. And then we took them through this exercise where they got to, envision and visualize, and we played with the submodalities. We played the pictures, the sounds, the feelings in the mind, and made it very specific. We played some music, all that stuff. And then Josh, at the end of the day, he sent me a text message like, I can't believe it. Like that sales call that I was expecting, that person showed up exactly how I visualized it. Right, Josh? And then it happened, and I closed the sale. So that's what NLP is all about. It's all practical skills, something that you can implement, and that's going to make a difference for you now. So I wonder if there's a way we could kind of give them another taste. Like I did the one 2 years ago. I wonder if you can give us some taste of that. I hope that I'm not putting you on the spot, but I know you're a master at this. So something that they can experience right now before we close the call. We have 7 minutes
Right.
left, but give them something that they can experience so that they can, make a difference in their life now.
Okay, I'm gonna combine that with wrapping up one of the metaphors. So the metaphor of the computer, right? So, you have what's on the screen, your conscious mind, right? What you see and hear and feel, what the information that we're taking in with our five senses, right? And then we have the subconscious mind, what's on our hard drive, all the data that we have available for us to pull from in our life. So you already have all of the resources that you need, right? So you know where you're at, you know where you want to be, right? But you need the resources to help you to get there. So now, how do we tap into this flow in life? And there's, I don't know how many of you heard of the law of attraction, the secret, okay, but it's really the law of vibration, right? So the third part of a computer that most people don't really investigate with this model is that there's the internet, right? So there's the interconnectedness with other computers around the world. All the information of the world is publicly available, or like 99.9, other than like the secret documents supposedly, and even those are probably some way, somehow publicly available, or not necessarily relevant to our daily lives. But you can go on, these search engines and pull up an answer to any question you have. You can go on, YouTube or Vimeo and watch a video on how to do any skill that you want to learn. I mean, we're teaching this NLP class online. There's recordings of different things, different skills and processes and all kinds of abilities you can learn how to utilize this in your life. So when you're trying to create sales in your life, right? So you have all these sales that you've created. That's a great resource. So take all of those feelings, like you made a great sale. Take the feeling of the sale. Take what you were seeing, how you were talking to the person, what they were saying to you, everything about it that worked, and kind of put all that in a file, like I was talking to Cal about earlier, right? And you can put that up in the icon on your screen, right? You take that whole experience, kind of bring it in, full sensory experience, what you were feeling, what you were seeing, what you were tasting, what you were smelling, what you were hearing, and just take that whole image and kind of compress it into a file and store it on the hard drive. But what you're doing is you're consciously creating the label for that so that you'll be able to pull it up at a later date, right? You're remembering this sale. And when you go in, the best way to sell something is to talk about, if the person's not there, if you don't have all these testimonials, you can kind of tell it by using I'll give you one language pattern called quotes, right? So I had this student who wanted to just manifest stuff in their life, and what she did was she took this process and she had this great example of attracting this person into her life, and she could recall the memory of how it feels for you. You could recall the memory of what you were seeing at the time. You could recall the memory of what you were hearing and what the other person was saying to you and what you were saying to yourself even. You could, just smell the perfume or the cologne of the other person, or any, smells that just come to your awareness that associate to that, and just get a taste of what this was like, an experience for you. And you just put it all together into this experience and store it in that icon. And then when you're in the next situation where you want to apply it, you're going on a sales call, and she was able to just click on that icon and bring back the experience into your body, release all those wonderful feelings, release all that wonderful learning, release all that wonderful imagery in your mind, and see it in the most optimistic way. Ask yourself the best possible questions to get you to the outcome that you want. Focus on your outcome. See your outcome clearly in your mind. And all of this comes and it just attracts the successful results that you want. And it seems natural. It seems automatically. Right? It seems like effortlessly on your part because you've set it up in a way to run that program. Right?
So
We have programs that we want to run that will get us from where we are to where we want to be. And you have all this information is stored on your hard drive. And if it's not stored directly on your hard drive, you can ask the right question, right? If you ask, if you type in Google, I want a nice shirt, right? It'll send you to thousands of clothing sites, right? But when you type in, I want a nice shirt that's blue with white stripes in it, it's a size medium, and it's made of cotton. Now you're going to get a lot better results when you ask the right question, right? So sometimes the feedback that we get is to shape the questions that we're asking ourselves so that we can ask the questions of how can I get better results instead of why did I fail? How can I get better results? Ariel.
yeah, Mark, that's a process. Thank you for sharing. That's a process of anchoring, right? Like, I think that's kind
Yeah.
of like what
Yeah.
you. And now we have 1 minute left. Why don't we go around and just share briefly what we learned? Everyone, one sentence. What's your biggest take up of this call? Because we need to close on time. People have meetings.
Okay. Thank you, Ariel. I can keep going, but everybody, what's your takeaway?
I think for me, it's just the fact, like, the end game. Everything is, I just love, it's no failure, it's feedback. I think that's huge. And just the fact that I have taken those steps towards a general right direction, and everything is a lesson.
Cool.
For me, it's trusting my subconscious, trusting that hard drive. And it was great how Mark put it, like the hard drive, and you got the and then you got the internet, which connects the hard drive to everything around, and that's a beautiful metaphor, along with storing the information within that, the softwares that you have in place, and the icons and the files and the sub files, and all of that, to be able to have access of it whenever I want it. So that, for me, that's what resonated. Like, I do have these stored in somewhere in these files, and I just got to able to trust myself to just jump in, and then that file will open up, in my screen, and be able to access it. So that's what I got.
Cool. And you can actually consciously click on that icon to open it up. You double click on the icon and it opens up, and there's a whole list of stories that apply for that situation. Just a suggestion.
Cool. Next person.
Angie and
Eddie, anything you got? Sonia, we got Sonia there. Anything else? Anything?
I'll go.
Okay.
This is Eddie. Well, my first thing is like all of it. I loved like I like the context of how everything. It's like things are happening for me instead of to me. I love that context. And the other thing that I'm getting for myself is just like listening to the. I think Wayne Dyers was talking about this. Like he was talking about like listening to the whispers of the universe, just listening and trusting your intuition. And of course, the other thing is actions. So that's what I
Great.
said. Thank you.
Thank you, Eddie. Thank you. Sonia, you got anything you want to share with us as far as what you got out of this class? Sonia, we can't hear you. Anybody else?
I like the idea of like, you know, focus on the learnings, what was right, what did I learn, and what I'm grateful for. Like the three questions, instead of asking why this happened to me, what am I grateful for? What is good? What did I learn? So
Cool.
like.
Right. So just to wrap this up, it's about creating the right expectation for yourself. Like, you know, disappointment requires adequate planning, but so does success. So when you have the attitude that you're going to do whatever it takes, not some things, not a lot of things, but whatever it takes, when you have that attitude, again, NLP is about the attitude. It's about shaping your attitude and, you know, fire, ready, aim, you know, like take action on it and then use that as a way of getting feedback. So at least you're doing something, you know, and then you can't steer a parked car. So if the car's moving, now you can steer it. You can start heading in the direction you want to go. And you have all the resources that you need to make that happen. It's just a matter of applying them and just keep going, keep learning, and look at every opportunity as an opportunity to learn. Hey, this worked, or it didn't work as well as it could have, or I can shape it, and how you can start to apply that and go forth and succeed, and come back next week and share with us how you've applied this week and in your life, in business, in personal relationships, in all areas of your life, whether it be taking in information or sharing or holding the space for someone else. That, you know, we're all coaches, we're all mentors, we're all students and teachers at the same time. So take that and apply it, and give us some feedback next week as to how you're doing with this, and we'll give you the next set of presuppositions and other learnings. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Bye, everybody.